about this court case with Apple. Now, Apple is normally they're normally known for quality and big production value and things like that. And this is definitely something that for Apple is not something they want to get around. I mean, to be known as a company that has colluded and conspired to fix ebook prices. Matter of fact, according to the report, they're guilty of ebook price fixing by a federal court. Now, according to this report by The Verge, that's where this story comes out. According to this report by The Verge, they said that the federal court said that Apple conspired to raise the price of ebooks from major publishers, and a hearing for damages will be held later. Now, Apple was originally accused of price fixing back in 2012, along with 5 of the 6 major publishers. Several publishers quickly caved, and all had agreed to settlements by early 2013, leaving Apple the only company facing a trial. Now, Judge Dennis Cote has found that the plaintiffs have shown, not just by a preordinance of the evidence, but through compelling and direct circumstantial evidence, that Apple participated and facilitated a horizontal price fixing conspiracy. That's a quote coming from the judge. And the Department of Justice accused the companies of banding together to keep ebooks above Amazon's rock bottom discount and chip away at the Kindle-fueled runaway that Amazon Kindle had their lead in the ebook market. Now, to do so, they relied on an agency model which allowed publishers, not retailers now, allowed publishers to set prices. This case hinged not on the agency model directly, but on the allegation of Apple's Eddie Q and others met with publishers and suggested they accept the model, then help them coordinate pricing. By doing so, Apple could boost its market share, and publishers could avoid the dreaded $9.99 price point that Amazon had offered. Cote agreed, saying the fear of Amazon had driven publishers to accept Apple's price-fixing deals. And so in her ruling, Cote said that she found the Justice Department's case compelling. The plaintiffs have shown that the publisher-defendant conspired with each other to eliminate retail price competition in order to raise ebook prices, and that Apple played a central role in facilitating and executing that conspiracy. Now, this thing has been going on since 2012, and Apple was saying this whole time that this is not them, they're not a part of it, and stuff like that. The other companies, they caved immediately. When this thing came out, the other companies were like, you know what? It's not worth it. We did it. They caved, they settled, and so, they've moved on. However, Apple decided, not to cave. We're not going to say that this is what was going on. No, we're going to continue to hold out that we did not fix ebook prices, and according to a judge, when all the evidence was out, Apple is guilty. Now, exactly what kind of damages they'll be facing as far as fines and penalties, it probably is going to be steep. Because one, Apple denied those allegations. Apple denied that they were guilty of ebook price fixing and stuff like that. And the courts have found that they are guilty of it. So you can bet that Apple is going to have to pay a hefty fine, probably more than the other companies that caved and decided that they were just going to admit that they were guilty of ebook price fixing and stuff like that. They're going to have to pay a bigger price for doing stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how Apple rebounds. I mean, is this going to affect their legacy? Are people going to care? The average consumer, I don't think, is necessarily going to care that Apple fixed ebook prices and stuff like that. I really don't think. I mean, people that have iPads, people that have iPods, I don't think they really care when they hear something like this, especially like the younger generation. They hear something like this, it's not going to change them wanting an Apple or an iPad. I mean, Jaden, what do you think? Your generation coming up, you hear that Apple is guilty of ebook pricing. I mean, do you care? I mean, is that something you care about? Would you still use an iPod or iPad, stuff like that? You know, do you care that Apple is held guilty for ebook pricing? Yeah. And do you think your friends would care?
I don't really think so, because I would still use, like, if I had an iPad, iPod, because it's a good system.
So you're still going to use it?
Yeah, you're still going to use it.
Okay. So Xavier, what do you think? Would that affect you and children your age, stuff like that? Would you care that, be like, oh man, Apple is ebook pricing? Nah, I'm not using that anymore.
I don't even think they know about it. Like, my friends, they probably don't know about it. They don't care.
So even if they knew, they wouldn't care?
Nah, we wouldn't care.
Yeah, so there you go. So I don't really think this is going to affect Apple's market share as far as for those that don't like Apple, this won't help them to like Apple. But for people who are like the younger generation who use Apple and Apple products, they're not really interested in the fact that, because ebooks are not really a big draw anyway, and most people in the younger generation, even the older generation, just don't care enough about this type of thing. And then those that are loyal to Apple, really, this is not going to cause them to be disloyal, just something like this. I mean, Apple faithfuls are truly Apple faithfuls. So even though this might hurt some other companies when they find out that they're guilty of this sort of crowd manipulation and retail and consumer, that's the word I'm looking for, consumer manipulation as far as prices go, and retail manipulation. Most companies that are found out to be a part of it, it really hurts their reputation, really hurts their sales, hurts their business. Apple, I don't think this is going to hurt them at all. Even though this is something that many people look at and say, well, this is a stain on Apple's character, or stain on their business. But I just don't see this thing really affecting anybody, at least as far as Apple goes and things like that. However, one of Apple's biggest competitor and chip maker, Samsung, has something rather good that they are giving people. If you out there, if you know how to develop apps, and you want to get paid big for doing it, because many people have apps in the Google Play Store and they make money based on people buying those apps. And Google makes it to where they can put apps in the App Store, just like Ouya. Anyone can create a game for Ouya. You can put it up there and then you can sell it. And Ouya gets 30% of the royalties. You get 70%. So I'm sure Google has a similar business model or something like that. So as many people as buy your app and so forth, you get paid for it. But how would you like to make some serious cash? If you were an app maker, or you are an app maker, how would you like to make serious cash? Not, a few dollars here and there. According to a report by CNET, Samsung and Intel have gotten together and they are offering prizes for the best app made. Now, winning apps are eligible for prizes that range between $50,000 and $200,000 as the two companies attempt to spur development in their upstart operating systems. Now, let me give you a little bit more about this competition. Now, Samsung, and this is a report by CNET that CNET came in, Samsung Electronics and Intel are banking that a little bit of cash will jumpstart the interest in Tizen, their upstart operating system that they're coming out with. The two companies are hosting an app development challenge and will award a total of $4 million in prizes to winning developers. Now, winning apps can garner as much as $200,000. Now, Tizen represents a chance for Samsung to wean itself off the reliance of Google's Android, because Samsung devices all use Google Android, and they're trying to come up with their own operating system. And Intel is trying to be the chip maker for mobile devices. That's one of the big draws with Haswell, trying to make Haswell and Haswell is their fourth generation, or their fourth generation of Core i5 chips. And it's said to give your mobile devices at least 50% better battery life. So if your tablet or your PC lasts 6 hours all day, this thing can give you an additional 3 hours. So now you're looking at 9 hours. That's the new Haswell chips that Intel is coming out with. So Intel is trying to get inside mobile devices, and Samsung is trying to reduce its reliance on Google's Android, their operating system. So they're coming out with something called Tizen, and that represents their chance to try and wean themselves off of Google. However, they want people to be able to develop apps for this operating system, and thus they came up with this app development challenge that will pay, they're going to pay out $4 million in prizes, and as much as $200,000 for very good apps. Now, after a couple of phones running on the Android software, it has a direct hand in developing, is why Samsung wants to do this. Now, while Tizen is open, the initial work has been largely guided by Samsung and Intel. For Intel, aligning itself with a new operating system could eventually yield greater interest in its mobile chips. So that could be why Intel is invested in this. But Tizen faces the same challenges as every young operating system, garnering developer support for an app ecosystem. It's an issue that more established yet still unproven platforms such as BlackBerry, BlackBerry 10, and Windows Phone faces, as well as other new platforms such as Firefox and Ubuntu. I mean, a new operating system is nothing that can just come out and immediately it's good. A lot of times these new operating systems, because we have operating systems by Firefox on mobile. You know, you have operating system BlackBerry 10. BlackBerry has been around in mobile for a long time, but getting developers to develop apps, and that's why like BlackBerry and Windows have about 150,000 apps in their app stores and stuff like that, whereas Google has 900,000 plus apps. Apple has 900,000 plus apps because it's a popular operating system, and many app developers are used to developing on Android, they're used to developing on iOS. And so when you come up with a new operating system like a Windows, and those are big names, Microsoft, you know, BlackBerry, those are big names. BlackBerry used to be RIM, Research in Motion, and they have trouble getting developers to develop for them. So Samsung doesn't have an easy road, but definitely coming up with this challenge is a good start. Now we're up against a break, and after the break we're going to continue talking about Samsung, this Samsung Intel challenge, but also if you're an Apple iPad fan, the C24 2-octave wireless iPad music keyboard is trying to come out, come out here, and it's another Kickstarter project that's trying to come out. And Evernote for Mac updates and adds document previews and more. So if you use Evernote on Mac, you'll be happy to hear about this update. All that and more is coming up next right here on the only show you get your news and reviews, right here on Tech Pulse. So stay tuned.